Hello everybody, and welcome back. I'm the Film Custodian. Usually I'm in a garage that is behind a theater, but it's scorching outside. It is supremely hot, so I am inside today. Eggers! The Northman, directed by Robert Eggers. Who would have thunk that a indie film about a vengeful Viking, directed by the guy who directed The Witch, and one of my favorite movies of all time, The Lighthouse. Go watch The Lighthouse right now. Who would have thunk that this would have been a flop? Because it was. And it's unfortunate because, I mean, this just goes to show where we are right now, the state of cinema, that unless it's a well-known IP, like if it's a Marvel or, The Witcher, The Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. I know I just named off a bunch of TV, but I'm saying that unless it's a known IP, like Fast and Furious, Star Wars, Marvel, if it's not a known IP, then it has very little chance of reaching cinemas. And when it does reach cinemas, the audience isn't always there. And a lot of people turned out for this film. I turned out for it, but in the end, no, it didn't make its money back, and it's a shame. All right, so The Northman. The Northman is directed by Robert Eggers. He's quickly become one of my favorite directors out there right now, simply because he does things differently. He makes his films, right? Indie films. Now, of course, he had a bigger budget on this one. I don't know, several $1 million. I don't really have the information offhand, but he was able to make this movie, The Northman, about a Stellan Skarsgård plays a Viking character. He is a child, and his father is killed by the evil uncle. You know, think Lion King, think Hamlet, and of course Hamlet, I guess, was inspired, the play that was written by Shakespeare was actually inspired by an old Viking legend or Viking story, and this is supposed to be that story. So you have Alexander Skarsgård playing the main character, and then you have his father played by Ethan Hawke. I thought that was an odd choice, but he did a good job. Willem Dafoe is in it briefly. Anya Taylor-Joy is in there as sort of a love interest slash kind of a little bit of a, not really sorcery, but she has a bit of magic about her. Nicole Kidman plays his mother. She's very mysterious, there's just a presence of something kind of ain't right. You know, you don't want to cross her. And Nicole Kidman is excellent. The casting was excellent in this film. And it's great that Eggers gets these actors in there that want to work with him. So Skarsgård really got ripped for this role. He's just like a big, hulking brute of a man, and it really shows in the brutality, the action sequences and whatnot, and it's just great. It's a classic story of revenge and how it just really can drive you mad, drive you crazy. At one point, he gets distracted from his mission, and he becomes a berserker for like another tribe of Vikings. And there's an amazing sequence in there where you show all the berserkers getting ready. You know, they're doing, you know, drugs or whatever, and they're all getting all hyped up. And you know, you have like this like the shaman there, and they're all kind of doing this dance around the fireplace, and they're getting all hyped up for the battle the next day. It's just very, very visceral, very visual, and it's quite something to experience. The cinematography in this movie is fantastic. There's one scene, I don't know how they did this, but they start off on a riverbank. The camera's on a riverbank, and then you see Viking ships kind of go past the screen, like in a river, but they're kind of going past. And then the one that comes straight up like this, and then the camera floats down over the river and then lands right on top of the ship, right into the center of this boat that's being driven or being paddled by a bunch of these Viking guys. And then the camera actually starts to move around, and now you're in a point of view, and then they actually attack a boat on top of all of that. And I'm like, I don't know how they did that, but it's incredible. Then there's also the attack on the village that happens right after the sequence where everyone's kind of getting ready and hyped up for the battle that's going to happen the next day. They go and attack this village. and it's disguised as one shot. It's not, obviously it's not one shot, but I don't know. There's some parts that it very well could be, because it's so well disguised. But they follow Skarsgård up the ladder. He climbs over the ladder onto well, you know, like a house or a hut. Jumps off, smashes a guy with his axe that's riding on a horse towards him, and then they just follow his character and others all throughout the village as they're plundering and pillaging and burning it all down. So the brutality is there. I've heard that this is the most realistic Viking film to ever take place on film, to ever be filmed. I don't know. I'm not a Viking historian or anything like that. There are plenty of channels on YouTube that already talked about this. But it's just, you're definitely in a place in time. The world is brilliantly created, and it comes to life. I mean, it's really there. So this film might be the most realistic in terms of historical accuracy, but it is definitely a fantasy. It's something that Robert Eggers does, is that he introduces a realistic world. It's grounded, and then slowly just brings in all of these fantastical elements, and there's really no explanation for it. They just happen. They're just there. They're just accepted by everybody in this world, and it's not set up from the beginning to be that way. So it's just kind of an interesting approach. You know, most TV shows or movies you go into, you know that there's going to be, you know, dragons or whatever, but this was just, you weren't sure, that you didn't know there was going to be this many fantastical elements that were in there. So at one point he basically fights like an undead. There's a name for it, but he fights like the zombie type character. So there was a lot more fantastical elements than I thought there would be. The ending is on a volcano. It's two guys battling it out on a volcano. It's fantastic. My final thoughts are, I highly recommend this movie. Go watch it right now. You know, you can rent it or buy it, and go watch the heck out of it. It's awesome, and I can't wait to see what Robert Eggers does next. I read that he's actually going to do a remake of Nosferatu, so heck yeah. All right. See you next time. Be sure to like and subscribe, and please share this video, and thank you.
What are you talking about? This is great. We're in space.